Part 82. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 813. The soldiers of the Song dynasty expressed that they could not understand why these three people were suddenly tied up. And Lu Feng woke them up at night. Was it just to show how miserable it was for these three people to be tied up? I believe that many of you know these three people, and many of you may even know who these three people are in their families. I will not talk nonsense to you. Tonight, the three of them attacked at night. The general's camp was broken into. How do you think this should be handled? Lu Feng angrily questioned the other soldiers. They knew the whole story, and the others were very shocked. They had never thought of retaliating against Lu Feng. It wasn't that they didn't want to retaliate, but because they didn't have the courage. Now it's really after someone did this, they became even more frightened. You know, usually just talking back, Lu Feng would beat that person to death. If it turned into a night attack now, he might not even be able to save his life. Then if you don't say anything, let me speak. I am your immediate boss, and everyone must be the only one to respect me. But now you have disobeyed my orders and want to harm me at night. Fortunately, you don't have the guts and just let me go. Some special herbs were in my bed, trying to make me miserable for 2 days, so I decided not to kill you. Lu Feng did not intend to kill anyone today. He just told the other soldiers that according to normal laws and regulations, they were all dead. Now they can appear alive in front of others only because they were too timid and did not take the weapons. It's just a weapon. Then he changed the subject and continued. But he is your brother who marched and fought together, so his mistake is the mistake of all of you, and everyone in the army must bear it together, so my punishment for you is that everyone is not allowed to eat from today on for 2 whole days. I will not give you any food tomorrow, and you are not allowed to go find any food. In the past 2 days, you have to travel to the suburbs of Beijing twice a day. Lu Feng quickly said his punishment for them, and these turning words shocked the other soldiers so much that they almost fainted. Even if they had to run 100 kilometers a day, they would not be given anything to eat. If they just drink water, they may not be able to hold on for a day and will collapse. For these soldiers, this is not a devil's training at all, but wants them to die. Don't worry, the military doctors have not left the military camp. All the military doctors will be waiting to treat you. I won't let you die. Don't worry. Lu Feng then said something else. This sentence sounded reassuring to all the soldiers at first glance, but in fact it made other soldiers even more frightened and couldn't even die easily. As long as these military doctors are here, if a soldier really reaches his limit and his body function declines, or he faints, then the military doctor will provide advice based on his situation as to whether he should eat some liquid food or take some medicine. Lu Feng will not let these people, those who really died in these 2 days, just wanted to tell them what team consciousness means and that they are absolutely not allowed to be selfish. They will be partners who will go to the battlefield together in the future. They cannot even leave their backs to their partners. Who can you trust? Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 814. After this, everyone will know that they are jointly and severally responsible. If they cannot do everything responsibly, then punishment will come to everyone. Whether they like it or not, from now on deep in their hearts, they will never be alone. Gradually, they will be able to leave their backs to their comrades. And when they can leave their backs to their comrades with all their heart and soul, they can increase their survival rate when they go to the battlefield. After all, people only have one pair of eyes and can only look forward. They cannot be perfectly concerned about the situation behind them. At this time, the importance of teammates was highlighted. Lu Feng hoped that these soldiers of the Song dynasty could understand this and stop being careless as before. General, I still can't figure out why we should bear this responsibility together. Since it was the three of them who attacked at night, then the three of them are the sinners. Even if you kill the three of them, we brothers will never say anything. But I can't accept that you ask us to bear the responsibility together with them. At this time, someone stood up to oppose Lu Feng's order, and immediately a large number of soldiers behind him stood up to oppose it. Right? Yes, we cannot accept it. We can't accept the general's order. Why should we be punished? It has nothing to do with us at all. It's just a group of dandy boys who made mistakes. They have a good father who can save themselves from committing crimes. But we don't have a good family like them. We no longer have a family. The general wants to punish us. You are looking down on us. Us. These soldiers are very angry. They are just ordinary people from grassroots backgrounds. Most of them have enough to eat and the whole family is not hungry. At this time, they are being punished together with the people they usually despise the most. And it's not because they have made mistakes. This makes them very difficult to accept, and they feel that this should not be their responsibility. Even if they go to the battlefield in the future, they will never pay attention to this group of dudes. It is not that they are cold-blooded, but that they are incompatible with these dandy boys. They have climbed to where they are today through their own efforts. But those dandy boys only became officers when they arrived because their fathers were officials at home. The imbalance in their hearts cannot be comforted by words. When you go to the battlefield, do you still ask whose son this is before deciding whether to be a comrade with him? Lu Feng scolded. As long as he is the son of those idiots, he should not want to be a comrade in arms with us. We will never admit that we are partners who eat from the same pot with such a person. He himself was stupid and did something wrong. Why should he want us? Take it on with them. The leader is called Wu Liang. When he was young, he studied martial arts for a few days with people who knew martial arts, so he has a very good foundation. After entering the military camp, he was like a big brother. He took people with no background in the family and made it all the way to where he is now. Before. He is also a person who has actually been on the battlefield, but unfortunately he has no background, so he was kicked out by the Forbidden Army. Therefore, among so many soldiers of the Song dynasty, his temperament is also the closest to the front-line fighting team. You are simply acting on your own initiative. When you go to the battlefield, your backside can only be left to your partners. By then, they may be your backside. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 815. Lu Feng's scolding was in the hope that this person would understand that when he goes to the battlefield in the future, it would be impossible to know exactly who is standing next to him every second. Maybe the person standing behind you in the future will happen to be the person you hate the most, but only such people are your teammates and the only people who can watch your back at critical moments. If you act impulsively today and insist on being clear with these people, then if something unexpected happens on the battlefield, you will not have any chance to make an active choice. The ever-changing battlefield will make you lose your life at any time. No matter what the general says, I am still unconvinced by this decision. If the general wants to punish me for this matter, I can accept it, but if you want to punish me because of that person, I will never accept it. Wu Liang is a very arrogant person. He started from the grassroots and climbed all the way up to where he is now. Being able to become someone else's leader also proves his ability. He also came back alive from the battlefield, which also proves that he is not a greedy person. A dead person. If it weren't a Euro trademark T for the fact that there was no one to manage the military camp in the suburbs of Beijing, maybe he would have been promoted to the third rank in a row due to military industry reasons. Unfortunately, there was no such thing, so he just became a captain in this military camp. Now he is even more unconvinced. He does not think that he needs to bear the consequences for a few second-generation officials. Lu Feng found it interesting. He suddenly thought of a way. It would be better to keep this contradiction and let them solve it by themselves. Maybe it would be better. What kind of surprise could there be? He waved his hand and asked Long Wu to untie the mouths of the three people, giving them a chance to talk. Wu Liang, you bastard, you are just a little too old for joining the army. What is there to be arrogant about? It is your honor to let you bear the responsibility with us. Otherwise, do you think you can be on an equal footing with me based on your status? Chen Lian was extremely angry. In his opinion, Wu Liang was just a grassroots person. Even if such a person took the blame for him, he deserved it. Now he dared to turn around and accuse him. He had forgotten what he had just done. Stupid things. Ridiculous, don't a Euro trademark T forget, what situation are you in now? It was obviously you who attacked the general at night, so you were sentenced to this matter, but it has nothing to do with us. We never thought of attacking the general at night, and in such a stupid way. Wu Liang snorted coldly, without even looking at Chen Lian. They were like natural enemies, and no one disliked the other. Lu Feng saw the attitudes of both sides from the side, and understood the contradiction between the two people, and it is not something that exists now, but has existed since the beginning. In addition, other people's attitudes are similar to these two people, and it becomes clear that other people and these two people have their own affairs, and they have conflicts with each other, and this conflict led to discord in the entire military camp. Perhaps this is related to their origins and growing environment. Wu Liang came from the most ordinary grassroots background. He had no parents at home, no clarification, and no children. The standard one person could not feed the whole family. He is hungry, so he never needs to think about other people. He has never made a mistake in the military camp, so he has not been punished by anyone so far. And because he is the only person here who has been on the battlefield, he is respected by many people and is a big brother. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 816. Chen Lian's status is quite different. He and the people around him are all second-generation officials. Their living conditions have been good since childhood. Not only are their parents still alive, but they even settled on a fiancé copyrightee when he was 14 or 15 years old. There will definitely be a happy future. Bright. Coming to the military camp is like the modern wealthy people who would send their children abroad to be gilded. Once Chen Lian has mixed around in the military camp, he will have a more suitable reason to promote him to a higher official position when he returns. So for these second-generation officials, everything in the military camp is not important. What is important is that they must have stayed in the military camp. Compared with their relaxed and leisurely life, the life of the grassroots seems to be very hard. If it weren't for the special nature of this military camp and no need to participate in the war, I'm afraid those grassroots would be even harder. There is a very high probability that on the day they go to the battlefield, all the second-generation officials will transform and become other people's officers, while the grassroots can only serve as cannon fodder and shed blood for these second-generation officials on the battlefield. No wonder there seems to be such a deep conflict between them, because life-related matters will be involved between them. I think since you don't like each other, it's better not to force it. From today on, you will live in two military camps. There is no need to force yourself to live with someone you don't like. Lu Feng suddenly made a proposal that shocked the people on both sides. They originally thought that Lu Feng, as the general-in-chief, would definitely stop them, but who knew that he actually encouraged them to divide their military camps. The people in front of them actually didn't want to fight. Why not let them separate, so that they can have a legitimate reason to tell Song Litsong that this debt cannot be settled? But don't get me wrong, the war is still going to happen, but since you don't accept each other, I don't have to force you to let people who don't get along go to the battlefield together. If you don't frame each other, it's good. Lu Feng said a fact. With the current conditions of both sides going to the battlefield, although they have been trained without any problems physically, psychologically, they may not only kill the enemy, but also frame their own people. After all, in the hearts of both sides, the life of the other side is not life. Only partners of the same origin are true comrades. When Lu Feng said this, both sides had no objection. This time, they suddenly felt grateful to Lu Feng. It means that after all, they were forced to stay in this military camp for so long and finally had the opportunity to live separately. You must know that when these people signed up to join the army, they were not qualified to specify which military camp they were in. They could be assigned where everything in a military camp is completely random. Even in the Song dynasty, there were too many military camps. Regardless of war issues, the military camps were chaotic. Except for the promotion system, there was no difference. There was no difference in the Song dynasty. The emphasis on designation does not mean that if you are from Camp A, you must carry the flag of Camp A all your life. On the contrary, it makes them follow the trend even more. I will separate your respective military camps before dark today, but this does not mean that I will not punish you. You will still be punished. Tonight, you will all line up in square formations and wait for my orders. These people were divided into two camps and became confrontational. Lu Feng found them more and more interesting. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 817. Master, these people are fighting each other fiercely now, and you encourage them to separate. If they become more and more serious in the future, and finally fight in the military camp, who should we help? Huang Zhong and Guan Yu didn't understand why these people should be separated. They both felt a little headache. After all, these people would be taken out to fight after being trained. If they started fighting in the military camp because of the current conflict, they would definitely die. Fighting to the death, what should we do then? Sometimes the person who knows the enemy best is often oneself. Maybe they will change after understanding each other. The conflict between the two parties is due to a matter of origin. In fact, they are not heartless people. When they become enemies, they will understand each other, and there will be a day of reconciliation in the future. When that time comes, I will be able to lead a real army to send troops. Lu Feng shook his head. Although at first glance this method may easily intensify their conflicts, in the long run, the better they understand each other, the more they may know that the other party is not the kind of person they imagined. By that time, both sides will it is also possible to reconcile contradictions. As long as they can sit down and reconcile, then this army can really be called an army. The master's foresight is beyond our reach. Huang Zhong and Guan Yu suddenly realized it at this time. They clasped their fists and admired Lu Feng. It was really amazing that he could see such a long-term thing. After that, they did not care about anyone on either side. After their camp separated, they no longer paid attention to them. If there was any conflict between them, even if there was a fight, they would not side with either side. When Lu Feng came back in the evening, they had already lined up their formations and were waiting. However, because the two camps were separated, their current formations were also it became two. Interestingly, through the comparison of the two square formations, it can be seen that there are far more soldiers from grassroots backgrounds than soldiers from the second generation of officials. If you want to use the human C tactic, the military camp of the second generation of officials defeat. You must be curious about why I asked you to gather together again, so I will tell you that this time it is not for training, but there is a task for you to do. The difference is that this time there are losers and winners. The loser can be ordered to do anything once without any conditions. Lu Feng looked at these soldiers who were waiting seriously. He did not intend to let them attack other countries now. Instead, he wanted to hunt down the bandits who had caused trouble in the suburbs recently. This would just allow these people to experience a small battlefield. Just 60 miles east of Wanli Pavilion, there is a group of bandits who specially gather there. Every time they see someone entering or leaving Yingtian Mansion, they rob on the only way to go. Many of them are lost because of this. I want you to go now for your family property and your life. As a result, they will let the people live and work in peace and contentment. Lu Feng simply pointed out the location and asked them to set off immediately. Whoever can kill all the bandits by then will be the winner. Being able to train these people is a great achievement. This is your first life and death battle with others, but you must be prepared to never come back. Lu Feng reminded them not to play around, this is a matter of life and death. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 818. The soldiers of the Song dynasty were stunned. What they didn't expect was that they had finally ended their training, but what they didn't expect was that the place where they went out for the first time was actually nearby. Who could have imagined that the world has become such a mess, that even the emperor has such rampant and ruthless bandits at his feet? Who will know who killed more people then? If I kill their leader in advance, and the other party kills their younger brother, who will win? Unlike the people in the grassroots camp who were very excited, the second-generation officials were relatively calm. Originally, they were not very willing to go to the battlefield. Cheng Lian immediately put forward another idea. If their people were separated, each of them would. How should we judge a person who half commits suicide? All robbers are treated equally. I will not judge you differently because of who is the boss or who is the younger brother. As long as you cut off the ears of those who committed suicide as evidence. Lu Feng had already thought of the possibility of this problem, so he did not intend to give these soldiers of the Song dynasty different judgments because of their different positions. According to the results of Huang Zhong's early investigation near the bandits, the total number of bandits was 3,969 people, just an odd number. It is absolutely impossible for the two camps to reach a balance. When there is never a draw, it is enough for them to be responsible for killing people. And every hand of these bandits is stained with blood. Although they have existed for as long as it only lasts less than half a year, but everyone who passes by, no matter whether they are poor or rich, will rush out to rob. The probability of survival of the rich is higher, because these robbers need a lot of money and food, and for anything for poor people who can't afford anything, they will kill people for fun, or rape women. It can be said to be a very terrifying thing for heinous people to gather more than 3,000 people in just 6 months. But it also shows how weak the Song people were in the era when the Jin and Mongolia were domineering. Even if they fought against their own people, they did not have the courage to fight against others, even once. Now that the general has said so, we have no hesitation in accepting this mission. The general will just wait for us to return in triumph. Then you will know how weak those people are. Wu Liang snorted coldly. He pointed at Cheng Lian and his second-generation officials. He meant that those second-generation officials knew nothing but eating, drinking and having fun. How could they catch or even kill those bandits? The winner this time, it must be them. Whether you win or lose, it's too early to say now. When some people lose, don't turn your back and deny it. Anyway, it's common for villagers like you to cheat. Cheng Lian snorted. Not to be outdone, he fell into the same problem as those in the grassroots camp. However, the prejudices between the two sides against each other were simply nonsense. When in the military camp, everyone was very honest and honest. Anyone would cheat. For a moment, the two sides were filled with the smell of gunpowder, as if they were about to fight in the next second. Guan Yu and Huang Zhong rode between them and separated them. Their tall bodies were full of intimidation, and their stern eyes frightened them. Their legs almost gave out and they could barely stand up. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 819. After receiving the exact order, both camps quickly headed to their destinations under the leadership of Huang Zhong and Guan Yu. However, this time Huang Zhong and Guan Yu appeared between them. They were simply serving as supervisors and would not participate in the battle between them. At the same time, in order to prevent these people from cheating in private, Huang Zhong and Guan Yu could only watch the whole game. But when they approached their destination, both parties immediately chose the non-stop path. People in the grassroots camp chose mountain trails that are very difficult to walk but almost no one passes by. This road is very difficult for the second-generation officials to climb. They find it difficult to accept climbing up such a road. So Guan Erde chose to take the normal mountain road. The road up the mountain was trampled by others for a long time. Relatively speaking, it is safer, but the biggest problem is the bandits. Checkpoints were set up on the avenue. The strategies they use are of course different. The strategy Wu Liang took with his men was to take a sneak attack route and rush up the mountain in an unexpected way. In order to catch the enemy by surprise, he could only take remote paths that others would never think of. Chen Lian and others gained military knowledge from studying, so they believed that only by choosing a breakthrough from the front could they defeat the enemy faster and show their gentlemanly demeanor. These people still don't understand that on the battlefield, no one cares whether you are a gentleman or a villain, all they want is to kill you. Soon before the sun went down, although Wu Liang's team moved slower than Chen Lian's team, they were already in position and were exploring the surrounding environment. After confirming the surrounding environment, they were waiting for an opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Chen Lian's team was stopped by the first checkpoint before they reached the stronghold where the bandits were. More than 1,000 archers were waiting for them at that checkpoint. Before Chen Lian and the others could react, rows of arrows had already arrived in front of their eyes. Those with faster reaction speeds could lift their shields, while those with slower reaction speeds could only look at Tian Tian. The arrows in the air pierced him. These second-generation officials finally experienced their first death. The blood spurted out when the people around them died splattered on their faces, hands, and bodies, making their minds go blank for an instant. Those who couldn't react at all even forgot about the shield in their hands, but the moment they put down their shields, they became dead people who sprayed blood on others. It was just a raid, and nearly 1,000 people around Chen Lian had died. He didn't expect that the other party had actually set up an ambush on the road in advance. Now they were caught in an ambush without any precautions. Retreat. Raise your shields, block the rain of arrows in front of you, and retreat. Don't be afraid. Once you are afraid, you can no longer hide. After all, this is their first time on the battlefield. The psychological quality of these people is still not good. They can barely listen to Chen Lian's order and retreat. Being able to retreat in an orderly manner has been trained by Lu Feng for so long. As a result, otherwise they would not be able to do even the words orderly. In such a chaotic scene, Chen Lian led them back and finally found a place with a lot of rocks to block it. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 820. Chen Lian now had a headache. He had no idea that he had been ambushed from the beginning. He was a little panicked for a moment, but luckily there were two young boys around him. They told Chen Lian not to panic and to find a way quickly. If this continued, everyone would have to be suppressed and beaten. These people have been firing arrows. We have nothing in our hands that can fight them. We can only retreat back. If we can show weakness and lure them to pursue, let them give up their advantages and engage in close combat, then it will be us. 1. Chen Lian was about to scratch his scalp when he came up with a reasonable solution. He immediately ordered everyone to raise their shields above their heads and try to gather together to form a square formation, so that they could block the arrows over a large area. Rain. They formed a formation every day. This matter was very familiar to them, so within a short period of time, they found their comrades and formed a formation together to withstand the rain of arrows. They showed great they were so weak that they retreated continuously, and even some weapons fell on the road. When the robbers saw this scene, they felt that their raid was very successful, and they couldn't wait to catch up. In the end, they were just a group of robbers with no cultural knowledge. They don't know what it means to show weakness to the enemy. These people only know that if they catch up and kill these big soldiers at this time, and then take away all the things of the big soldiers, and return to the stronghold, they will be appreciated by the boss, and maybe they will be rewarded. They were extremely excited to play with women. Brothers, you must stay calm and don't reveal your secret at this time. Let's wait a little longer. When they get within 20 steps of us, it's time for us to fight back. Cheng Lian was very happy when he saw the bandits chasing after him. He felt that his policy was finally correct. He told the other brothers to wait until the enemy was close before taking action. Otherwise, once those people retreated, they would be in trouble. The advantage of being a long-range archer was once again shown. Infantry like them were unable to fight. But before he could speak, some brothers had already fallen. It was not that they were shot by bows and arrows, but because the dead people around them were too many, they immediately vomited it out after experiencing the battlefield for the first time. After all, it was the first time to experience such a bloody thing. The people who fell next to them were brothers who got along with each other day and night. The familiar faces looked at you with a tragic look like a dead person. Generally speaking, a Euro trademark is very difficult. Some people want a Euro trademark T panic. Ignore them, we retreat quickly. We must retreat until the enemy approaches. Cheng Lian yelled. Some of the brothers wanted to help others, but if they had to divide their men at this time, there would be no way to turn defeat into victory. In terms of arms, the archers perfectly restrained the infantry. Even Cheng Lian and the others were obviously physically stronger than the bandits, but now they had no way to fight back. While everyone was waiting, the bandits finally rushed in front of them. Their eyes were already red. By the time they could fight back, no one would be able to fight back. There was no mercy. They were filled with anger. Their brother had just died in front of them, killed by these bandits. The anger in their hearts was beyond words. They wished they could cut these bandits into pieces right now to vent their hatred. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 821. The soldiers approached their bandits with such anger, and were quickly killed by them. There were only 1,000 bandits, and they were unable to fight back against the regular army. In less than half an hour, these bandits who gave up their own advantages all fell to the sword of the second generation of officials. Although these people are usually very playboys, after Lu Feng's training, their physical fitness has long been beyond that of ordinary soldiers. Comparable. After finally experiencing his first killing, and with no more enemies around him, even Cheng Lian ran to the side and started vomiting. Guan Yu, who had been following them, saw this scene and felt that it was normal. After all, it was his first time to kill someone and experience such a bloody storm. It was hard for anyone to think that the battlefield was not disgusting. I think the reason why he didn't vomit when he killed someone for the first time was because he had been used to troubled times since he was a child. After the second generation official camp killed people, the grassroots camp led by Wu Liang had quietly moved behind the bandits' village. The people inside the cottage seemed to be celebrating something, so even the people on guard were relaxed and did not notice the changes in the surrounding environment, nor did they notice that some bushes kept changing their positions. Soon night fell, and in the darkness, Wu Liang and his men took advantage of the cover of night to climb to the top of the sentry tower and killed the people who were watching, without letting the carnival people notice that someone had sneaked in. After Wu Liang's people entered the village, they found out that someone was getting married, and they didn't know who had snatched the women back from the mountain and regarded them as the wives of the village. Women's cries could be heard from the village. It was unknown how many women had suffered such a crime. Looking at the robbers on the other side who were eating meat and drinking alcohol, Wu Liang felt that they were really hateful. They were so cruel to his own people. This was something that even an animal could not do. Kill. The signal was sent. Wu Liang led the men to kill first. He had experience on the battlefield, so he was not afraid of rushing out to kill people, but not all of his brothers were afraid of death. Some of them rushed forward. The speed was a bit slower, so they were killed by the bandits who had already discovered it. There were also some people who, although they had passed the psychological quality test, but had no experience, they could only yell and rush over, hacking and slashing without any knowledge. People with martial arts can only do things with their own strength. This is also Wu Liang's dereliction of duty. You must know that although the brothers in the grassroots camp have good foundations, they don't know the difference between martial arts and these bandits. It just depends on whose strength. It's just that the death rate is no different from that of Cheng Lian and others who were ambushed. The killings in the village were shocking for a while, and no one knew who kicked over the brazier. All the nearby flammable objects were burned by the fire in the brazier, and a fire broke out. Soon the village was swept away. Bloody fire splattered everywhere, and after a full hour, silence finally returned to the village. Wu Liang looked back at his brothers. Although there were about 2,000 people in the village, they were from the grassroots camp after all. There were more people. Under such circumstances, the grassroots camp still lost more than 1,000 brothers. It can be seen that when they actually went to the battlefield, neither side did what they should do. They were both very derelict in their duties as commanders. Huangzong He Guanyu waited expressionlessly for them to clear up the battlefield. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 822. After both sides cleaned up the battlefield, they took the dead people as their military merits and cut off their ears. When they returned, they had to tell Lu Feng how many people his camp had killed. But before these people cut off their ears, they looked at the corpses on the ground, half of which were the corpses of their own brothers, and suddenly felt melancholy. It turns out that people die so quickly and easily. Cheng Lian, take all the bodies of your brothers back. We can't let them live in the wilderness. They are all brothers who train with us and eat together. Zhong Kui's eyes were red. His interpersonal skills were much better than those of the other two, so many people in the military camp were friends with him. He was a very friendly brother. Looking at the man who usually drinks and eats meat, brother, just like this, he will never wake up again. He feels very uncomfortable. Now he just hopes to take these brothers home, even if it is just a corpse, as long as they can go back intact. Enough. That's natural. These people are our brothers and we have the responsibility to take them back. What's more, I brought you out but didn't take you all back. I will definitely come and apologize to all the brothers in the future. The parents knelt down and kowtowed. For the first time in his life, Cheng Lian understood that war is such a cruel thing. Either you die or I live. No one will tell you about the conduct of a gentleman. The methods in the military manual must also be used flexibly, and you cannot be stubborn. Otherwise it would be a joke with his brother's life. Cheng Lian swore that he would never want his brother to die miserably in front of him. On the mountain, Wu Liang, who had killed all the people in the village, was also very speechless. This, although he won a competition, he was not happy because he lost more than 1,000 brothers. But after this time, he also understood that the brothers in the grassroots camp had no strength, but they did not know how to use it correctly. A few people don't even know basic martial arts skills. When they go to the battlefield, if they can't kill with one blow, they can only be killed in reverse. Although these bandits don't understand anything, they rob others every day and already know it. What does it mean to be fast, accurate and ruthless? On the contrary, they are faster and more accurate than regular troops like them. Wu Liang plans to apply to Lu Feng after he returns. He must participate in such life and death battles many times. Only in this way can he truly train his own people and let them they become stronger. After remembering their brothers, both sides prioritized packing up the corpses of their brothers before cutting off their ears and taking them back as military exploits. However, both teams were dejected when they returned. By the time they were in the military camp, when they met, they could see the frustration on the other side, and they knew that even though they were not doing well, the other side was not doing much better either. The evidence you brought back has been counted. The people led by Wu Liang killed 2,671 bandits. Obviously they are the winners this time. Tell me what you want the other party to do. Whatever it is. Lu Feng asked Wu Liang to state his request. As winners, of course they have such rights. I hope that Cheng Lian can take his people to attend the funerals of his brothers sincerely, no matter who the deceased is. Wu Liang sighed and said.